sit down to your favorite meal, a salad you swear is healthy, a slice of whole grain or sourdough toast, and within minutes you're bloated, heavy, and exhausted. That's exactly what happened to a mom who thought she was doing everything right when it came to her diet, but still felt her energy slipping away and her clothes fitting tighter every month. Everything changed when she discovered the benefits of diets designed around her body's unique responses, specifically an elimination diet for food sensitivities. Like so many women over 40, she realized that healthy eating goes beyond what's good for everyone. It's about what's right for you. In a recent overview video, I shared 4 dietary frameworks that many midlife women explore: plant-based, low carb, heart healthy, and this elimination or restriction. Today we're talking about this last one, the elimination style diets. These can be powerful tools, not for punishment or perfection, but for insight. When used wisely, they help uncover hidden food sensitivities, identify your unique stress and energy triggers, and explain why some so-called healthy foods might actually be working against you. So stick with me through this, because you'll walk away knowing which gentle strategies work, which nourishing foods to welcome in daily, and how to build true food freedom without falling into the trap of rigid rules. And if you want a broader look at all 4 diet categories I recommend for women over 40, make sure to check out the main overview video linked in the description. And if you're new here, I'm Dr. Gayla Gorman, a licensed acupuncturist, naturopath, and author of What's Your Kryptonite? If you'd like to connect with me, use the QR code on the screen or go to drgayla.com/links. On this channel, I'm here to help you reverse the effects of chronic stress so that you can cruise through midlife and beyond symptom-free. In this particular video, we're exploring 7 elimination and restriction diet approaches so you can see what each one does, who it helps most, and which foods support your body along the way. Let's get started with intermittent fasting. So while intermittent fasting isn't technically an elimination diet, it centers on when you eat, not what you eat. It's often grouped with restrictive approaches for good reason. By creating intentional pauses when you're eating, it can reduce the constant load on your digestive system. This extended rest period may help lower inflammation and make it easier to notice how your body responds to certain foods when you reintroduce them. Intermittent cycles vary between eating and fasting windows. The primary eating and fasting window you'll hear about is 16-8. This is an 8-hour eating window with a 16-hour period of digestive rest. This can go all the way up to what's known as OMAD, which is 1 meal a day, so essentially a 24-hour period of digestive rest. There are things in between. The one I tend to recommend, especially for mature women, is most days to use an 18-6 fasting period, meaning that you're going to get 18 hours of digestive rest and you're going to eat 2 nutrient-dense meals within a 6-hour period during the day. So this intermittent fasting style may support weight management and metabolic health. Food choices still matter to some degree, but intermittent fasting typically does not require you to eat certain foods. So we use intermittent fasting as an overlay with some of these other options. The focus here is more on when you eat than what you eat. So what's this approach best for? People, especially women, looking for weight management and improved metabolic health. It really helps to regulate insulin, lower fasting blood sugar, and improve cholesterol markers. It also simplifies eating patterns if you prefer structure over constant calorie counting. It's not a great fit for anyone with a history of eating disorders, uncontrolled diabetes, or during pregnancy. So you might be wondering if this intermittent fasting approach is safe for your age and health conditions. It is generally safe for most adults, but if you have diabetes or a history of disordered eating, if you're pregnant, or if you take medications that affect your blood sugar or appetite, you're going to want to check with your prescribing physician. You might also be wondering if you're going to get enough essential nutrients with this intermittent fasting approach. Nutrients like calcium, vitamin D, protein, fiber. So I will say that yes, if your eating window prioritizes balanced plates with plenty of protein, colorful produce, whole food carbohydrates, and healthy fats. You need to really plan your meals because you're not going to be snacking. You're going to eat 2 nutrient-dense meals most days. You want to make sure that each one of those meals has at least 20 to 40 grams of protein, high quality protein. So you really shouldn't be shortchanging key nutrients. The important question to ask, though, is if you can realistically stick with intermittent fasting given your lifestyle, schedule, and appetite changes. So I will say that fasting window can be adjusted to fit your day. It works better if you end your eating window earlier rather than later, but if you stick to a 6-hour eating window, even if you have to adjust that to eat later in the day, you're going to find that your body adapts and does fairly well over time. You want to probably start with a more moderate eating window, like maybe even 14-10, meaning that you're giving yourself a 10-hour window of time to eat, and then you want to keep whittling that down. And it can be really helpful to use 1 meal a day once or twice a week and give your body some extended time of digestive rest. People often find that when they adapt to eating 1 meal a day, they can really do that fairly easily. The problem then becomes that they adapt to eating 1 meal a day, and that's actually too much fasting and too restrictive. So you just want to really notice how you feel and adjust your timing gradually to match your routine, and do this in a way that feels like you can sustain it long term. The next restrictive diet is a gluten-free diet. So this diet removes wheat, barley, and rye. It centers on naturally gluten-free grains and whole foods to reduce inflammation and support digestive health. It's essential for celiac disease and helpful for many women with non-celiac gluten sensitivity. It does take planning to stay balanced and avoid unnecessary restriction. It's arguably a really difficult diet, and what tends to happen with the gluten-free diet is people adopt swaps, if you will, and the swaps tend to create other issues long term. So this diet is best for individuals with celiac disease. In fact, it's a requirement unless you can overcome and heal your gut, which is entirely possible, but that's not the subject of this diet-based video. The typical counsel related to celiac disease is that it is a lifelong condition requiring medical supervision and intervention. But if you're a non-celiac with gluten sensitivity, and maybe in some cases even people with autoimmune thyroid conditions, these people typically report symptom improvement just by going gluten-free. It really can reduce inflammation and gut distress for those sensitive to gluten, but it isn't automatically healthier for people without gluten-related issues. So you want to plan carefully to prevent nutrient gaps, especially fiber, B vitamins, and iron. So you may be wondering, is the gluten-free diet safe for your age and health conditions? So Again, for celiac, it's an absolute requirement. It's the standard of care, and it may help some with sensitivities. So if you have multiple conditions or take medications, you definitely need to confirm with your prescribing physician that this approach will benefit you. Next, it's important to ask if you'll get enough essential nutrients, calcium, vitamin D, protein, fiber, etc. with the gluten-free diet. So if you use it with intention, use fortified gluten-free grains, lean into fiber-rich plants like beans and lentils and veggies and fruit and nuts and seeds, and include quality protein and healthy fats, you should not have a problem. And if you're wondering, can you realistically stick with the gluten-free diet given your lifestyle, schedule, and appetite changes, I would say that you definitely will need to take this all into consideration. If you are just going to try going gluten-free because you think it might be beneficial, you really want to be careful of just adopting a lot of swaps. For example, people will use almond flour to replace the glutinous flour, or bakers will put more yeast in gluten-free baked goods, and so you end up getting too many nuts and your body becomes sensitive to those, or you end up with too much yeast and then you have issues related to fungal overgrowth. So going gluten-free should be done mindfully, and that you're not just creating more problems by using swaps that end up being unhealthy. You're going to want to make sure that you're reading labels and that you're keeping a go-to list of gluten-free staples and what you can order at restaurants that you may visit frequently. You can also prep a few easy meals so that you're not scrambling when it comes to mealtime. Next is the BRAT diet. This is a really interesting elimination diet. The BRAT diet is bananas, rice, applesauce, and toast. Now, if this isn't wacky, I don't know what is, but it's designed to be a short-term, gentle approach when you've got some real digestive issue. It's primarily used for nausea, diarrhea, or some major stomach upset. It really soothes the gut while the symptoms are allowed to settle. But it's low in protein, fat, and fiber, so it's really only a bridge back to a more nourishing diet. The BRAT diet is not a diet that you would adopt long term. The BRAT diet is used for short-term relief during acute GI upset. Diarrhea, nausea, foodborne illness recovery. Think if you got food poisoning. These bland, low-fiber foods give your stomach a rest. It's not for long-term use, and you're going to phase it out as soon as symptoms improve and return to a more balanced, nutrient-dense meal plan to rebuild your strength. Next is the low-FODMAP diet. This is actually a fairly common one to use. This targeted plan reduces specific fermentable carbohydrates to ease digestive issues, especially for IBS. It includes 3 structured phases: elimination, reintroduction, and personalization to pinpoint your unique triggers. It's best for people with IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, or chronic digestive concerns like SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. Clinical studies show that up to 70% of IBS patients experience symptom relief with proper guidance. I think that's due to the multiple phases. It's best managed with a dietitian that really understands how to apply it, because it's a fairly complex diet. You want to make sure that you're maintaining nutrient variety and ensuring you're using careful reintroduction. So is the FODMAP diet safe for your age and health conditions? I would say generally, as long as you're getting some professional guidance. Even if you're really good at following instructions, you may be able to get a book and follow along, but it might also be helpful to have some professional guidance. You would want to find a dietitian that actually specializes in FODMAP so that you can protect the variety and guide each phase appropriately. Also, keeping in mind the foods that you really enjoy so that it feels like less of a sacrifice. You might be wondering if you're going to get enough nutrients like calcium, vitamin D, protein, fiber, etc. with the FODMAP diet. So if you follow the phases and reintroduce food systematically to keep your diet diverse and balanced, you shouldn't have a problem maintaining your overall health. And is it realistic that you can stick with the FODMAP diet given your lifestyle, schedule, and appetite changes? So since there's phases, including reintroduction and maintenance, it really is just a short-term approach. So with appropriate coaching, you should not have a problem sticking with it long-term. The goal is personalization, not lifelong restriction. Next is a Whole30 diet. I have personal experience with this one. Whole30 is a 30-day elimination plan that removes common inflammatory foods, sugar, grains, dairy, and legumes to help identify food sensitivities. After the reset period, foods are reintroduced gradually while you observe how your body responds. So this is best for adults who want a 30-day reset to break cravings, spot sensitivities, or cut reliance on processed foods. By pausing added sugar, alcohol, grains, dairy, and legumes, you can see how each one affects digestion, mood, and energy. This really isn't meant as a long-term diet. It's a structured experiment to build awareness and healthier habits. I will say that this diet is one of the hardest I have ever used. It's nearly impossible to eat out on this diet just due to the restrictions on the types of fats that are used and the 100% elimination of sugar, that sort of thing. So this is a diet that truly is used intentionally with awareness to accomplish something particular, potentially to identify what types of sensitivities you're really dealing with. So is the Whole30 diet safe for your age and health conditions? 100%. It's 100% safe and really includes all the foods you need to be eating. It includes protein, it includes vegetables, including some starchy vegetables, and really healthy fats. It's a super healthy diet, but it's just really restrictive, and it's honestly eye-opening because you really realize how much we're consuming that really isn't too healthy. I will say that if you have medical conditions or take medications, you may want to check with your prescribing physician first, but honestly, this is just a very healthy diet. It's just really hard to implement. Will you get enough essential nutrients like calcium, vitamin D, protein, fiber, etc. with the Whole30 diet? 100%. If you are following the diet as it was intended, the meals emphasize vegetables, quality proteins, healthy fats, and plenty of fiber-rich plants. You can be intentional about including calcium and vitamin D-rich foods since dairy is completely off limits. And you might also be asking if you can realistically stick with this Whole30 diet given your lifestyle schedule and appetite changes. So I will say that we can do anything for a month. Is it hard? Certainly. But if you just say it's just 30 days, I can do anything for a month, then you can absolutely do it regardless of your circumstances. It just will require some pre-planning. Long-term sustainability comes from a thoughtful reintroduction plan. That's probably the hardest part because when you get to that 30 days, you want to just let her rip and go back to eating what you have been missing for the last 30 days. But that reintroduction period is when you get the most benefit from that 30 days of elimination that you just experienced. So really it's more of a 40-day or so program because that extra period of time after the 30 days is really important, how you reintroduce things, and then how you're going to manage that going forward. Next is the blood type diet. I have some experience with this one as well. I am an A positive blood type, but I will say that I tend to become anemic fairly easily, and so I have to be very careful to consume enough protein. So most of what I've seen with the blood type diet is pretty much common sense, but I do think there are some things that might be interesting to you here. But I will also say that this diet has kind of evolved over the years. So just for clarification, there is blood type O, A, B, and AB. So we're aiming to support digestion and immunity based on what is inherent typically with somebody with that blood type. It encourages a personalized approach, but it remains largely theoretical and lacks a lot of scientific support. It's best for anybody who's just curious about personalized or alternative nutrition frameworks. It came along kind of early on and has evolved into some of these more modern approaches. But it really does pair food lists with blood groups and claims benefits for digestion and immunity. It's popular in a lot of circles, but again, there's not a whole lot of evidence for its efficacy. You just have to try it. Just ensure you're not cutting major nutrient sources, which honestly, if you do it right, you won't be. There's not really that much restriction with this diet. It's just that the things you're restricting are kind of odd. I will say though that if you have a food sensitivity test using your blood work, that's how I typically do it with somebody who's really struggling with this type of thing and we're really trying to just nail it down. You will find that there are kind of odd things that are specific and unique to you that are triggering an inflammatory response. And so when you see that, then you can understand how this blood type diet may have more legitimacy than we've given it credit for. Lastly, I just wanted to share here what I have developed myself, and I call it the Fierce 5 diet. And it's not really a diet, it's just eliminating what I refer to as the Fierce 5. This is a focused elimination plan that avoids 5 common triggers that I've seen repeatedly in myself and in many, many other women. That would be gluten, dairy, yeast, sugar, and alcohol. And these are actually 5 things that we eliminate when we're practicing my human energy system reboot. It really centers on whole, unprocessed foods, but honestly, it's unrestricted with the exception of eliminating or avoiding these things. It's often used for anti-inflammatory benefits, improved digestion, and just steadying your energy. It's best for people dealing with chronic inflammation, bloating, fatigue, or even stubborn weight that may be linked to food triggers. By removing these 5 culprits short term, you can reset the gut, then reintroduce foods to identify what's truly problematic. So is it safe to eliminate the Fierce 5, gluten, yeast, dairy, sugar, alcohol, for your age and health conditions? I will say that from a wellness perspective, none of those 5 are required for you to achieve optimal wellness. So you really don't have to be concerned about that. I think the main thing I will say here is that you don't want to eliminate some of these things and then swap for things that end up being less healthy or even create other sensitivities long term. For example, they put a lot of additional yeast in baked goods when they're removing gluten, and that will tend to cause other issues. Or they may use almond flour, and that's just flat out too much almond. I ended up getting an almond sensitivity because I just ate too much almond flour from replacing the flour in baked goods. So it's just really important that when you eliminate any of these things we're talking about here in this video, that you're really careful with the swaps. The swaps are not going to really get you where you want to go. The most important thing is that you eliminate the things and that you lean into the healthy, natural foods that just are clean and don't require some manipulation. So you might be wondering if you're going to get enough essential nutrients when you eliminate gluten, dairy, yeast, sugar, and alcohol, the Fierce 5. That would include calcium, vitamin D, protein, fiber, etc. So I will say yes, there might be an issue with calcium and vitamin D. A lot of people think they get that from dairy. I would really encourage you to get out into the sun, especially in the morning for about 20 minutes. Get your vitamin D from the sun. That's the absolute best source. And then I will say that vegetables tend to be a really good source of calcium, so you don't have to get calcium from dairy products. If you use a varied whole food approach and a structured reintroduction to keep diversity, you won't have a problem. You might also be asking, can you realistically stick with this diet, this Fierce 5 avoidance, avoiding gluten, yeast, dairy, sugar, alcohol, given your lifestyle, schedule, and appetite changes? I will say yes, short term. Long-term success really is going to come from you thoughtfully adding back things after a period of rest and then using them in moderation. None of these things are required to be healthy, and so really it just becomes a choice of what you're going to consume on a regular basis. By the way, if you want to explore the other 3 diet categories I recommend for women over 40, that might be plant-based or low-carb or heart-healthy diets, make sure to watch my overview video, Food Diet Hacks Women 40 Plus Swear By. The link should pop up right here on your screen, and if you miss it, no worries, I've included it in the description below. Now that you've seen how elimination and restriction diets like intermittent fasting, gluten-free, or Whole30 can help you reset your system and reveal hidden food triggers and boost energy naturally, let's move into the next stage. What to eat every day to make those results last. This is where healing meets habit building with nourishing foods that keep your hormones balanced, your digestion calm, and your energy strong long after the reset is done. So, what healthy foods should you eat every day? With intermittent fasting within your eating window, you're going to want to build real plates. Lean proteins or legumes, plenty of vegetables and fruit, whole food carbs you tolerate, and healthy fats. Hydration and electrolytes really matter, especially with intermittent fasting. For gluten-free diets, you want to naturally use gluten-free grains like rice, quinoa, buckwheat, starchy vegetables like potatoes and sweet potatoes, legumes, fruits and nuts and seeds and eggs, and dairy if you can tolerate it. You can use gluten-free certified breads and pastas, but again, be very careful with the substitutions. BRAT, this is very short term. It's just gentle picks like bananas, white rice, applesauce, and dry toast or crackers. As soon as your symptoms improve, you're going to step back up to broth, yogurt if you can tolerate that, eggs, potatoes, and then you'll move back into your usual balanced foods. Low FODMAP, during the elimination, you're going to want to choose the lower FODMAP produce like spinach, carrot, zucchini, grapes, citrus, proteins, fish, poultry, eggs, firm tofu, and suitable grains like rice, oats, quinoa. You're going to then expand the variety during your reintroduction to your tolerance level. Whole30, we're going to lean into vegetables, fruit, eggs, meat, fish, seeds, nuts, and oils like olive or avocado oil. There's absolutely no added sugar, no grains, no dairy, no legumes during the entire 30 days, then reintroduce to identify your keepers. The blood type diet, you're going to emphasize whole foods that fit your chosen plan. You're definitely going to need a book for this while watching your over restriction. Make sure you're getting protein, plenty of produce, and daily fiber. And then lastly, my Fierce 5, where you're avoiding gluten, dairy, yeast, sugar, and alcohol. You're going to consume vegetables, fruit, meat, fish, eggs, nuts, and seeds, gluten-free grains, and tubers. After the initial phase, you can reintroduce the removed group strategically so that you keep variety, but you want to be careful to notice what seems to trigger any of your digestive issues. So we've just explored how diets like intermittent fasting and gluten-free living can help uncover triggers, stabilize energy, and simplify your eating habits. But there's still more to explore. Food sensitivities don't just cause bloating or fatigue. They trigger your stress response. When your body reacts to foods it can't tolerate, it releases stress hormones like cortisol, creating inflammation, disrupting sleep, and draining energy. So calming those food-related stress signals is one of the fastest ways to feel better in midlife. Now that we've walked through the full set of approaches, let's pull the lens back. These plans may look different, but the real key is making them yours, noticing what to eat and when so your body truly feels better. When you blend clear structure with a little flexibility and nutrient-rich meals, you build something sustainable, not another rule book. So let's take a quick look at what's the same and what's different across these diets. Before we compare the diets within this category, let's zoom out. In the overview video, I shared 4 dietary approaches: plant-based, low-carb, heart-healthy, and elimination or restriction. This is the elimination or restriction set. So what sets elimination and restriction diets apart is their purpose. These aren't long-term lifestyles. They're short-term strategic tools that help you gather insight about how your body responds to certain foods. Plant-based and heart-healthy frameworks can be followed for years. Low carb may work long-term depending on your metabolism, but elimination and restriction, they're used for investigation. You use them to identify your body's unique patterns and move forward with clarity. So I hope that clears it up. Now let's start with what's the same. These approaches either limit or time restrict certain foods to calm symptoms or reset habits. They also really are designed to support digestive rest. The short period of restriction with a structured reintroduction or a sustainable eating window, if you're doing intermittent fasting, really helps you personalize it instead of living on rules that really don't suit you forever. They also work best when your daily plates still include protein, plenty of produce, fiber, and healthy fats. So unlike the plant-based or heart-healthy approaches that I've explored, these focus on nourishing the body with specific food groups over time. Elimination and restriction diets are more about mindful subtraction. They invite you to observe what happens when certain foods are temporarily removed, helping you identify what may be working against your health alongside what supports it. So what's different is the focus and the time frame, really. Intermittent fasting is somewhat adjustable. It focuses on when you eat and can be ongoing. This arguably is one that you would practice long term. You're just going to vary your fasting window. Other elimination plans focus on what you eat and are usually more short term. Medical necessity definitely matters. Gluten-free is lifelong care for people with celiac in many cases. Low FODMAP and Whole30 are definitely temporary diets. BRAT also is super temporary just for brief illness support. Blood type, somewhat theoretical, and my Fierce 5 can be a customized short-term reset, and you may want to consume the Fierce 5 in moderation long-term. So the end goal isn't restriction forever. It's knowing your personal keepers and triggers. If intermittent fasting is your lane, it's landing on an eating window you can actually maintain. I recommend that you vary that eating window over the course of a week or a month. Remember that mom I mentioned at the beginning, the one who ate healthy but still felt bloated, exhausted, and frustrated? That's what happens when you follow generic diet advice without understanding your body's unique responses. The salad and whole grain toast weren't the problem for everyone, they were the problem for her. So now you have the elimination and restriction strategies that women 40 plus swear by, and more importantly, the framework to discover your personal food triggers and build a plate that actually fuels your energy instead of draining it. Because healthy eating after 40 isn't about deprivation, it's about discovery. You just need the right process to discover what your body's been trying to tell you all along. And remember, this is just one of several diet strategies we've covered for women in midlife. Beyond the four main categories, plant-based, low-carb, heart-healthy, and elimination, we also explored focused approaches like fasting mimicking diet and important other topics like orthorexia, because knowing when healthy eating crosses into obsession matters just as much as knowing what to eat. But really, all you need to know is that the most effective diet is the one that honors your body, your lifestyle, your goals. And if your best efforts to live a healthy lifestyle and do all the things you've been led to think are supposed to work aren't getting the job done, you may even be feeling like you take 2 steps forward and 3 back. I have more resources to help you navigate midlife. Just go to drgala.com/links. And watch my next video where I show you how to manage the toxic stress that's sabotaging your efforts. You can eliminate the symptoms that seem to be piling up in midlife naturally without medication, crazy diets, intense exercise, or any other unsustainable lifestyle hack.